Welcome, everyone. My name's Jeff. I'm here with Mason Cable Network, and we're here with Brett, the campaign manager for Mike Van Meter's campaign, who is running in Virginia's 11th congressional district this year in the election. Virginia's 11th, if you're not aware, encompasses most of Fairfax County here in Virginia and the entirety of the city of Fairfax. Mike Van Meter is the Republican running against the incumbent Jerry Connolly. So we're here to ask his campaign manager, Brett, a few questions. So welcome, Brett. Thank you for joining us. So my first question to you
Thanks
is
for having me.
why? Yep, absolutely. My first question to you is why is Mike running? What are the things he's hoping that will, why is he running and why now?
Well, why he's running is because he's had a lifetime of service. If you looked at his website or anything, you'll
Mhm.
see that right out of college, he joined the Navy, flew helicopters for about 8 years, and then he fulfilled his childhood dream of becoming a police officer in D.C. And
Mhm.
he stuck with that for a couple of years, and then he went on to work for the FBI, where he was a field investigator, also flew drug interdiction missions. And then he did that for 20 plus years and then retired from that. And he got passionate about substance abuse while he was in
Mhm.
the FBI. He was actually heading up some classes and stuff like that within the FBI because there's a high rate, but you probably know this within
Yeah.
government agencies, even police departments, there's a high rate of substance abuse. So that became his number one passion. He went back to college, got another master's degree, and now he's currently an addiction therapist up here in Northern Virginia,
Mhm.
where he's seeing the effects of the drugs that are flooding into our community, more specifically fentanyl, and then even a few other newer ones out there. I can't think of the names of them right now. Mike, of course, knows it all off the top of his head because he sees it every day.
Yeah.
And that passion for service is what drove him to run for office last year at the state senate. And as rough a campaign as that was, I was pleasantly surprised when he stepped up to run for Congress as well
Mhm.
this year because, as you may or may not know, the 11th district is a heavy blue area,
Yeah.
and so there were a few people that flirted with the idea that I'd been in communication with, and then at the last minute they kind of like changed their minds. So, like I said, thankfully Mike stepped up to run for Congress, and what he hopes to accomplish primarily. And his big number one passion item, like I mentioned before, is just the drugs and what they're doing to our community. And they're
Mhm.
doing it to not just American citizens, but the people who are coming in here or otherwise. He's seeing every night he goes to work. He's seeing people from other parts of the world who are sent here in this area, and they're completely addicted, and
Mhm.
they're they're completely involved in crime and prostitution, trafficking, the whole nine yards. So the border is going to be one of the big things he's going to work on, getting a
Mhm.
stem on that, understanding that the misnomer about Republicans not liking immigrants, that's actually false. We love legal immigrants.
Mhm.
We absolutely love legal immigrants. It's the whole notion of people just skipping across the border, cutting in front of the line, and basically slapping people in the face who did it the right way and are doing it the right way. We got a lot of people who are we know personally who are over here on a visa and they're trying to get that upgraded to citizenship. And as you may know, it's not an easy process at all.
No.
I mean, people that do it the right way, they stand in line, they go on hold for 40 minutes at a whack trying to call someone. They pay fees or penalties, they fill out paperwork, endless amounts of paperwork. So we
Mhm.
know what a daunting process that is for someone to do that legally, and we fully support people that do that. Another big issue that's really on his, like I said, it was the border, which kind of plays onto the crime epidemic because crime has gone up here in Fairfax County and, quite frankly, across the country. So the crime, the rise in crime is another big issue that really drives him to run, and as well as in the education. I mean, Fairfax County here, we people that live around here will tell you they're the best schools in the country. I've heard other people say these are the best schools around. But the sad fact is that kids are still not reading at grade level and doing math at grade level. So
Mhm.
those are his top three issues: the border, crime, education. Of course, there's a lot out there to nitpick and
Yeah.
go over, but I'll just, in the interest of brevity, leave it to that.
Yeah, and like so then my next question is like you mentioned, Fairfax County is a very blue, heavily blue district.
Mhm.
Um, and Representative Connolly has been in Congress for quite some time. So, what does Mike plan to do to convince undecided voters or even Democrats to come over to his side and give Representative Connolly a message?
Well, in the absence of millions of dollars like Jerry Connolly has, my mantra for the campaign has been voter contact, voter contact, voter contact.
Mm-hmm.
So this month, Mike took a leave of absence from work. Prior to that, he was working, 4 days a week, typically 10 hours, 10 to 12 hours a day at the hospital. This month, he went ahead and took a leave of absence, and we'll keep that leave of absence. And he's getting out into the community. We've hit every Friday, we have our calendar marked for him to visit mosques in this area. In that particular community, some people may be very, very surprised to understand all those folks that we talked to. They've Up until last year, they were voting Democrat, steadily Democrat. This year, that's a huge change. I mean, overwhelmingly, when he goes into mosques, he's very, very well received.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's also hit all these other communities, church communities we can think about. And then every little, throughout the summer, every little farmer's market or concert series or whatever, that was going on, Mike is getting out there and just meeting people, like I said, but just voter contact all the way. We're doing what we can on social media with the lack of heavy money.
Yeah.
We're doing what we can on social media, and we got some commercials we're going to start blasting out there. Mike has also been on the local radio stations numerous times and has gotten his message out that way. And yeah, since he's not working every day, we're packing something on his calendar for him to get in front of people. And if there's nothing for him to do, then he's sitting down making phone calls, both donors and just people, a targeted list of Republicans like, hey, we need you to get out and vote. I know this is a blue area.
Mm-hmm.
However, we need you to get you out to vote and vote early or vote by mail, whichever is your preference.
Absolutely. So my next question is, we're here at George Mason University. It's the largest university in Northern Virginia and the largest university in the 11th district. What would you have to recommend, and what would Mike have to recommend for students who are interested in joining politics, either at the national level, local level? What would you say? How would you encourage them to get involved?
Well, he's actually been to GMU a few times. As a matter of fact, I'm just down the road or up the road from you right now, sitting in the office here. I don't know if you know where our office is located, but it's just you can walk here from GMU. And we've been talking. We've been there a couple times for the college Republicans, young Republicans. I can't. Yeah. Sorry, I forget the exact
one of those.
Yeah. But we've been to them a couple times, and I would encourage, and Mike would too, is whether your degree's in poli-sci or not, just start out getting involved. Mm-hmm. Find your local GOP office, find a campaign, and volunteer. As you can tell, I'm not a college-age student. I kind of joined this business late in life. I think 2019 is when I started getting I was already involved down in the county I live in, and I was getting involved up here as well. And when you learn the ropes that way, you will learn by volunteering. You'll learn election day operations, what the difference is between a magisterial district and precinct. And more importantly, you'll get to know a lot of those people involved. And so I would encourage them, anybody thinking of getting in politics, start there. Just start volunteering, start, getting at the grassroots, maybe become a precinct captain or help a precinct captain in your neighborhood, just to start from the ground there. And eventually it'll, like what happened to me was people started offering me actual jobs after a couple of years of just doing volunteer work on statewide campaigns as well as local campaigns for House of Delegates, state Senate, and the last couple of years congressional candidates as well.
Absolutely. And then I guess my final question for you is, as you mentioned, Mike has a long experience in law enforcement and military careers. We know that there's quite a few members of Congress who have military and law enforcement backgrounds. Mm-hmm. How does he plan to work with them if he makes it to Congress? And how does he plan to help benefit the veteran and law enforcement communities here, not only in America, but here in Fairfax, where they're so prevalent?
Yeah, well, I'm certain he'll glom on and latch on to any fellow veterans out there, veteran police officers, veteran FBI, veteran Navy, Air Force, Army, whatever, Space Force, whomever. Yeah. I'm sure he'll learn who those folks are and be happy to work with them on any sort of legislation, be it bipartisan especially. As far as the military is concerned, I mean, one of the big things is we got to get, I think, and I'm sure Mike agrees with me as well. I'm a 22-year veteran of the Air Force. I retired out of there in like 2009 time frame, and what I can say is that the military, the Department of Defense has very few functions, and that's just to break things, scare people, or otherwise kill them if all else fails. That's their mission essential functions. But
Mhm.
as we can see, the military's glommed on to many other things that they really shouldn't be messing around with.
Mhm.
For example, I know a fellow who was he's a special operator from in the Army, Green Beret type, and he was in Afghanistan, and he actually got pulled out of there right in the middle of mission to come back here in America and attend about like 2 or 3 days worth of pronoun use training, diversity
Mhm.
training, that kind of stuff that, quite frankly, I understand it has its places in human resources. I understand that. I get
Mhm.
it. But for the people whose job is to, scare the crap out of our opponents or otherwise
Mhm.
break them, I mean, that's just, in my humble opinion, a huge waste of time. And Mike agrees with that as well. We need to focus them more on being the war fighters
Mhm.
that they were in the past. And this business of using the military to social engineer things is incredibly wrong. It's a waste of taxpayer money, and it's a waste of our veterans and their in the active duties time, quite frankly.
Yes, well, thank you very much. So I guess one final thought is if you have any thing to say to the students here at George Mason who will plan on voting on election day or will be voting early in the Fairfax area, is there any final message you have to say to them to not only convince them to vote, but to vote for Mike Van Meter?
Yeah, definitely. Get out and vote early. I mean, we've been preaching that for the last couple 3 years, ever since COVID extended the voting days. We have election season now rather than election day. So
Hmm.
you have plenty of opportunities. There's about 13 to 16 satellite locations open right now. The government center in Fairfax is one of them, Fairfax Government Center. I think it's about a 15-minute drive from where I'm standing right now. And then, of
Hmm.
course, there's Burke Library down the street. And you could call the Fairfax GOP office to get a list of it. So find it close to get out there and vote early. And when you get out there to vote, walk up to the Republican tent and say hello to them, ask them questions. And if you're undecided, walk over to the Democrat tent and, introduce yourself and ask them questions. Because
Hmm.
there's people out there ready to hand you a sample ballot with the candidates on one side. And then, oh, shoot, I got one right here, as a matter of fact. They're handing these out at the precincts. And over here, there's some bond issues and constitutional amendments on the back with a little brief explanation. And it is a brief explanation because we only had so much space
Yeah.
put on there. So if your folks can get a hand on one of these, or I can list them for you right now, they can look them up. We
Hmm.
encourage people to go ahead and go online, look up these bond issues and constitutional amendments, and make your own mind up.
Yeah.
And the reason to vote for Mike Van Meter is because he's a Constitution first. He loves the country, and the reason he's doing this, and believe me, if he, running for office is a beatdown,
Yeah.
physically, mentally, psychologically. It's a beatdown. It's not only rough on the candidate; it's rough on the family.
Hmm.
I'm his campaign manager, and I only see my wife a couple hours a day, and luckily she backs me up and supports me. And
Yeah.
otherwise, she would have probably dumped my useless butt years ago. But she's it is a beatdown, and Mike
Hmm.
is doing this because he believes in this country. He believes in the Constitution, and he believes that that works for everybody. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on.
Hmm.
I don't care what pet issues you have. There are solutions to it, and it can be done through following our laws, following the Constitution, and legislating into place good laws to fix some of the crap that's broken right now.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your message and your time spent. I'm sure every student on Mason's campus will appreciate your time and effort to come and to speak with us. We definitely appreciate it at Mason Cable Network. We love doing this every year, speaking with the candidates and the campaigns. So everyone, thank you very much. This has been Brett with the Van Meter campaign. So thank you very much, Brett. And thank you very much to the
You
Mike
know,
Van Meter campaign. Go ahead.
real quick, I want to just vanmeterforvirginia.com, and it's METER FOR, Virginia, all of it spelled out. We're not doing any cute fancy numbers. I don't know why. It was just the way it was set up. So
Yeah.
you can go on the website there. There's an email and a phone number to call. If you call or text the number, that comes straight to me. Mike and I both look at the email a couple times throughout the day. So
Yeah.
we'd love to hear from you. We'll try our best to answer any questions you have.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thanks for
Yeah.
allowing me this opportunity.
No problem. Thank you very much, and have a nice one, Brett.